jewel in the crown of Syria's millennia of rich history. The Bell Temple, dating back to the 1st century when Palmyra, the city of palms, was the crossroads between Roman and Persian empires. Yet it is no more, the UN has confirmed, after locals reported Sunday hearing an explosion loud enough, it was said, for the deaf to hear.
ISIS may have already accomplished exactly what they set out to do. The confirmed destruction of yet another religious historic site, and a world that can only sit back, watch, and do apparently nothing. This as close by in Iran, there is yet another figurative throwing up of hands from those who seek to stop President Obama from cutting what they consider a nuclear deal that will only put us on a harder path to war. Every day, the mainstream media says these same exact things about Iran, ISIS, and the war on terror. Time we try to get to the bottom of something new and seek to uncover what isn't being said. Our guest is the former Deputy Assistant Secretary to the U.S. Army, former Principal Counsel of the U.S. Navy, and author of the new Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It. Welcome, Van Hipp, back to the Hardline. Van, a pleasure to have you on the show, and I have to start right there, first of all, with ISIS, because now they have destroyed another temple. We get these reports every day. Now they have M16s. They're moving on another village. Honestly, Van, it seems to the American people as if we're saying the same thing over and over again. What's happening in your experience, in your knowledge on the ground, that is seeking to change this and at least get some sort of a leg up on these killers?
Yeah, and what's so sad here, I mean, this should be an education for the American people, what the caliphate and the restoration of the caliphate is all about in Sharia law. There's a thing called the concept of shirk, where they say that anything that doesn't glorify Allah, they want to destroy it. But here's a key point. What they're doing, they're going into these historic shrines and they're taking the artifacts out. They're selling things on the black market. They're selling them on the black market to finance ISIS, then destroying them. But, you know, and the United States has now said we're not going to do any more airstrikes to help stop this because we don't have support on the ground. But yet we've got King Abdullah of Jordan who came to our Congress and complained that the State Department would not give him all the tools and things that he needed to go after ISIS and to go after radical Islam. But one thing's for sure, I do think we do need to go in there. You know, we've got to think outside the box. The 9/11 Commission said that 9/11, above all else, was a failure of imagination. We always respond to the last threat rather than trying to prevent the next attack. I say let's go in there to the areas they haven't gone into and let's get the artifacts and things out of there now, give them to other museums so they can at least preserve.
But could we do that, though, Van?
Artifacts.
Could we do that, though? Would we not be seen as an occupying force by the people already there who are tired of seeing Americans basically stomp on their ground? It seems as if we couldn't do that unless we have some help from the local governments there. And the local governments, let's be honest, they are completely impotent.
But we have some allies in the region who we basically have tied their hands, like King Abdullah of Jordan. Like I said, he came and complained to our United States Congress about the roadblocks. And here's a guy who's a direct descendant of Muhammad, who is I would call him a moderate or actually a reform Muslim. My gosh, I'd give him the green light and everything that he needs to take the fight to him. But I think this should be a lesson to the American people what radical Islam is about, what the restoration of the caliphate is. And don't forget, our FBI director now says he has open files in all 50 states of America looking at people with potential connections to ISIS.
All right, Van, I want you to hear this. Here's Secretary of Defense Ash Carter. He was talking with U.S. troops and veterans. He said he believes that the military could defeat ISIS. But here's the trick, making sure that defeat lasts. Here's what he said.
We could defeat ISIL. The U.S. military could defeat ISIL. That's not the trick. The trick is to defeat ISIL in a lasting way. And that means that after they're defeated, they need to stay defeated, which means that there need to be local forces representing the local people who keep the kind of extremists that ISIL represents from taking over again.
Okay, Van, is he blowing smoke or is he basically just telling us everything that we've known for months and years on end and there still is nothing here, no meat here?
Ed, it sounds like he read my book. I say that in the book.
He just may have, too.
Of ISIS's, we had 90% of ISIS's predecessor organization, 90% of their capability wiped out back in 2010. General Lloyd Austin, who today's the CENTCOM commander, was the ground commander and urged the president to do certain things To what? To make sure it did not reconstitute itself. The president did not listen to his ground commander, and now he's got a cancer that is spreading 1/3 of Syria, 1/3 of Iraq. It is spreading into Africa with Boko Haram pledging allegiance to ISIS, and now with open files of potential connections, people with connections to ISIS in all 50 states. I sure wish he had listened to General Austin, and I think that's the same advice Secretary Carter is trying to give him right now.
Van, I got to tell you, I've only got 60 seconds left here, but here's the deal. I hear that. The trick is making sure the defeat lasts. Van, honest to sweet God, we have heard that from everybody over and over again. Do you think that we have not only the resolve, the will, the people, the ability in order to go in there and make it stick, or have we passed that by?
We're getting dangerously close. When we cut the United States Army to pre-World War II levels, that sends a terrible message to friends and foe alike. When we've got more admirals today than we've got ships, I mean, we've gutted the U.S. military. But I still believe, having said that, we can defeat radical Islam. We can defeat ISIS. But we've got to make sure we've got the right systems in place. And we've got to, when we've got people like King Abdullah and Sisi in Egypt and allies like that who get it and understand what radical Islam is all about, we need to send them the right signals, and we need to stand with them and give them everything that they need. We can do it, but we need a commander-in-chief who's going to listen to his ground commanders and listen to our allies in the region as well.
Ben, I'm going to have you on the show one day, and we're just going to talk strategy. That's all, because one time I'd like to hear people come up with actual, real things that we can do in order to get it done, instead of talking in hyperbole and all these wonderful wishes, it seems. Van Hipp, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Now, whomever is going to go out there and do it, that's going to be your next president of the United States. So in your mind, you're picking the GOP nominee. Who's your choice? Who's the person that you believe could be the best to carry out the fight around the world against those who are looking to kill the innocents? Go to newsmaxpolls.com. Tell us exactly what you think. We'll talk about it here. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hard Line, continues.